I think I'm done with Dota for tonight. I'm gonna watch movies with chat. Some story recaps while I eat. Some story recap. We didn't do it yesterday, so we can do it tonight. Let's do it, guys. Here we go. It already started. I already see a great one here. Simp traps hot girl in a cage like a pet. That's a great movie. These are just real movies that are realistic adult amusement park lets you live out your fantasy. Sounds like fun. Military trained elite killed gamers to wipe out an alien race. These are just regular movies that they shortened to 15 minutes. So that's what it is. Okay, I'm gonna put myself in just chatting. I'm gonna do that for I don't know how long. 20-30 minutes. I'll eat at least. See what we do after. Firefox? Okay, fine. Fine. But I'm done with Dota for tonight. Thank you everybody that tuned in for Dota. I appreciate it, guys. You guys are fucking awesome. I love you guys. Dota frogs. Time for some movie frogs to have fun. Okay. Firefox. Firefox. Here we go. Do it for the VOD frogs. No, cat. Stop it. He has no manners, by the way, at all. He has no manners. He's gonna literally be annoying me the entire time. And there we go. He laid in front of the camera. Okay, story recapped. Let's go.
Story recapped here.
Full screen. Get cozy, chat. Eat. Well, I'm gonna eat it.
Today I'm going to explain a horror and thriller film called Pet. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Seth is an introverted man who lives alone and works at an animal control center. The dogs at the shelter are the only ones he could consider as friends. He treats all of them with love and care, especially a German shepherd named Lexi.
I need a plate. Mirmak.
Whenever he has time, Seth sneaks into Lexi's cage to spend time with the dog.
Who needs a plate?
On a bus ride to work, he notices his high school crush, Holly,
oh god damn,
among the passengers. He sees her writing in her journal during the trip and nervously approaches her. However, Holly does not remember Seth at all, as he was one of the shy kids. She is uncomfortable with him approaching her like that and replies unwillingly. Later, Seth stalks Holly's social media accounts to know more about her life. The following day, Seth asks Nate, the security guard, for some advice on how to shoot his shot with Holly. Nate is initially hesitant to give him advice, as they aren't close, but he eventually tells him that the key is confidence. After, one of the employees, Mrs. Gundy, informs Seth that Lexi will be taken down that day. Seth comes to Lexi's cage and prepares for her to be put down. On the table, Seth clings to the dog and comforts it before Dr. Jessup approaches the poor dog. Before finally putting Lexi down, he asks Seth if he wants to keep the dog, but he says he can't take care of it at home. Right after his response, the vet injects the lethal substance into Lexi. That night, Seth extensively examines Holly's social media profiles
game, I'll pause. I
as
don't
he
want to
notes
miss
her
the
like.
Here back, I'm getting a fork. Oh my god, I just realized I left the cat with open containers of knock him down and I would be ruined. Oh my god, I'm so lucky, dude. Holy shit. Never doing that again. Okay. I'm ready.
And dislikes. He finds out. Story recapped here.
Fuck.
Today I'm going to ask Seth if he wants to keep the dog, but he says he can't take care of it at home. Right after his response, the vet injects the lethal substance into Lexi. That night, Seth extensively examines Holly's social media profiles as he notes her likes and dislikes. He finds out where she works as a waitress and sets off immediately. Holly works at a local restaurant and attends to Seth as he
going too
comes
far,
in.
man.
As he is almost done with his meal, Seth asks Holly to come with him to a concert, but she says she can't. Unwilling to give up, Seth asks her one more time, but she rebuffs him instead. After a long day at work, Holly notices that someone is stalking her, but she dismisses the thought anyway. Little does she know, Seth is hiding behind the bushes, now knowing where she lives. At home, she talks to Claire,
fucking champ, dude,
her friend, about her stalker, but Claire only tells her to not be paranoid. Shortly after, her ex-boyfriend Eric, who cheated in their relationship, calls her while drunk. Claire persuades her to get back with him, but Holly is still unsure of what to do. The following day, Holly receives a large bouquet of roses which puts a smile on her face. Her coworker, Britt, asks her where it came from, and a person pops into her mind. Holly visits the bar where Eric works to confront him about the roses. Confused, he tells her that it didn't come from him, but she refuses to believe it. She goes outside for a smoke and writes on her journal just as Seth sits from a distance. Out of nowhere, he tells Holly that the flowers are from him, which takes her by surprise. His presence and persistence creep her out, but Seth continuously tells her how much he likes her. Seth has pushed enough of Holly's buttons for her to hit him, but he still follows her inside. When Eric notices the commotion, he steps outside to beat Seth up. Holly quickly puts a stop to it and Seth is then thrown out to the smoking area, where he steals Holly's journal. With the journal, Seth feels like he already has a piece of Holly. As he reads the pages of her journal, his obsession with her grows even more. He spends the next few days reading every page in great detail, plotting a way to be part of her life. At work, Seth discovers a hidden trapdoor to a room in the abandoned wing of the shelter. He examines the room and finds it empty, but the lights and other functions still work. An idea pops into his mind, prompting him to start a passion project inside. Seth starts to build a steel cage and gather other supplies that might be useful to him. One night, as Holly makes her way home, she senses that someone is still following her. Seth emerges from a corner of the street and follows her steps until she arrives home. Upon finding that the building's front door is locked, Seth climbs all the way to her window. Fortunately for him, he enters unnoticed while Holly is in the bathroom. However, she hears a suspicious noise and checks to see an open window, so she closes it. Holly goes to her bedroom after preparing for bed, but just as she lays down, Seth pins her down. He injects something to make her sleep, making it easier for him to kidnap her.
Yikes.
He returns to the shelter with Holly inside a big box. Nate stops him at the reception to make him log his entrance and senses that something is amiss. He gets up after hearing a mysterious noise and gets closer to the box. Though Seth is nervous, he keeps his cool and can get past by faking a delivery. He brings the box down to the secret room, proud of himself for getting this far. Holly eventually gains consciousness and wakes up in horror after finding herself caged. She repeatedly tries to unchain herself, but to no avail. Despite her many screams for help, animal noises conceal her cries, and the room is too secluded for anyone to hear it.
That's fucked up.
The next day, Seth arrives with some food and a urinal that she could use while explaining that he has a greater purpose for her. As if nothing happened, Seth goes back up to the main area to work. From time to time, Seth brings Holly some basic needs to keep her in prime condition. As he leaves, Holly begs him not to leave her alone. Seth tells her he does not want to be touched. The poor girl is left alone in the room that night, even hallucinating an image of Claire. With grit in her voice, Holly vows that she will survive the situation she is in. She rocks back and forth on her cage, completely unhinged by the situation. The more time she spends inside the cage, the more claustrophobic she becomes, but she has no choice but to endure.
Dude, I'd go crazy after like 1 hour. I'm not even kidding. What the fuck?
Seth arrives in the morning. He informs the distressed Holly that he has imprisoned her because she needs to be saved. He continues to give a speech about him being able to take care of her at her worst. After his shift, Seth shows Holly her journal that she has not seen in days. The sight of it makes her more uneasy, putting Seth in such a dominant and kingly position. Seth reveals that he has read her journal and knows her at a deeper level. Out of nowhere, he says that he hears Holly talking to herself in both her and Claire's voices. He asks her if Claire is in the room, and her friend appears just behind him. Only she can see the image of Claire she created in her head as a source of comfort and familiarity. Not long after, Seth reads her journal out loud, and Holly's darkest secrets are revealed. In a flashback, Holly learned that Eric had slept with her best friend Claire and confronted her about the affair during a car ride. Overtaken by rage, Holly accelerated the car excessively until they got hit by a truck. Despite her injuries, Claire survived until Holly stabbed her with a sharp piece of glass out of jealousy and heartbreak.
He's fucked up.
Her death was attributed to the car crash, concealing Holly's crime. Since then, Holly has committed a series of horrendous murders around the city and wrote about them in her journal.
Okay.
Upon reading her journal and realizing
maybe caging her wasn't so bad then, what the fuck?
Real, Seth formulated a plan to save her. He also wanted to prevent her from harming anyone else, claiming that he finally knows his purpose in life. After Seth leaves, Holly reflects on her life while the image of Claire slowly claps at her. The next day, Holly tries to tease and seduce Seth into letting her out of the cage. After several tries, all her efforts are useless, as Seth is steadfast on his goal to help her. Holly bashes her head onto the steel bars when she runs out of options, making Seth beg her to stop. Blood starts to stream down Holly's face, but she acts unbothered by her wounds, weirding Seth out. In one of the main areas of the building, Mrs. Gundy summons Seth to her office. According to her, his performance worsens by the day, and she gives him disciplinary notice. With his final warning and the pressure of keeping up with Holly's thoughts, everything is getting too overwhelming for him. At another meeting in the secluded room, Seth begins to starve Holly to punish her actions. As he is about to leave, Holly tells him about her dream the night before. The two of them are having fun on a sunny day, instilling a possibility of them being together. Easily swayed by this, Seth goes to the vending machine to get her more food. On his way out, Nate follows him unknowingly and discovers the hidden trapdoor. He curiously enters to find Holly caged in the room and attempts to help her. However, Seth goes back to the room and sees Nate trying to unlock the cage. Surprisingly, Holly urges Seth to hit Nate while she distracts the security guard. Blinded by Holly's commands, Seth does as he is told, striking Nate repeatedly until he falls to the floor.
Jesus.
In a sick game of psychological manipulation, Seth is entirely under Holly's spell. He finishes Nate off with hollow blocks in accordance with Holly's requests and follows her instructions on disposing of the body.
What the fuck?
The bloody scene satisfies
What
her
is this fucking... She's the crazy one?
cravings for blood and violence.
He's the same one? What the hell?
Seth chops Nate's body parts and feeds them.
This movie earned an astonishing amount of $8,004 at the box office. I wonder why.
That's insane. $8,000?
To the shelter dogs to eliminate any evidence. After the traumatic night, Seth goes for a walk to clear his mind and decide on his next move. As he returns to the room, Holly instills that he is a murderer and assures him that it is completely fine. She even adds that both of them are meant for each other, and they are born to kill. However, Seth's eyes are still on his goal of saving Holly from spiraling deeper into her addiction to killing.
Yeah, save
Both
her.
of them
She's
hold
crazy.
hands, and for the second time, she tries to seduce him. However, Seth's mind is too mixed up to give in to temptation, so he leaves. Upstairs, he sees several officers working on Nate's disappearance, making him uneasy. One of them, Detective Mira, questions Seth about his whereabouts in line with recent events. The police become more suspicious of Seth's role in the guard's disappearance, making him rethink his next moves carefully. With the shelter surrounded by officers, his move is now very much limited. One night, Holly sincerely asks Seth to let her out, but he still clings to the idea that they can still form a genuine relationship. With her continuous manipulation of Seth's mind, she asks him to cut off his finger to prove his love.
What the fuck?
She then gives a speech about feeling alone in the world and that no one understands her.
I bet
Holly
there's a
tearfully
Pokemon tier 3 subscriber out there that would do it though. Let's be real.
thanks Seth for being there for her, and Seth leaves the room confused. He could not
It's me, I would do it.
believe the words that came out of Holly's mouth, finally feeling something worth living for. Consumed by guilt and confusion, Seth breaks down in the bathroom, indecisive if he should give up a finger. Finally, he returns to the secret room and gets on the floor. Without hesitation, Seth cuts off his finger with a knife, proving how much he loves her. While he endures the pain, Holly grabs the knife and threatens to kill herself if he doesn't unlock the cage. Seth is left with no choice but to open the cage, giving way for Holly to be released. With the knife still pointed at herself, she slowly walks to Seth and tells him that she finally believes in love.
What the hell?
Holly adds that Seth has saved her, and she loves him. In the dark and deserted room, Seth and Holly share a romantic kiss, a moment he has been waiting for his whole life. However, Seth's happiness is short-lived. Holly slits his throat without remorse and watches him suffer. Sometime after, Holly rekindles her relationship with Eric, and they now live together. Holly finds out that Eric has been cheating on her again but declines to hurt him.
Classic
Later
Eric.
that day, she walks to an old warehouse and uncovers a steel cage. After all this time, Seth is alive and is kept in a cage by Holly. Now that their roles are switched, she claims him as her pet. His body is mutilated and tortured,
What the hell?
and his appearance is unrecognizable. Both of them hold hands as Holly thanks him for saving her. For most of the story, Seth is the bad guy for caging a seemingly innocent woman.
What the
His
hell?
multiple tries at landing a date
Became
with
the
Holly
pet.
took a downhill turn as he discovers that she is a serial killer. When Eric cheated on her in the past, it prompted her uncontrollable rage to kill people, including Claire, her best friend. All
Don't
Seth wanted
cheat on
was Holly
crazy
to
women.
realize the consequence of her actions by putting her in a cage as he
Who am
takes
I
care
kidding?
of her.
Or am I gonna find
Although it
two
is
girls that are
inhumane
gonna like me?
for Seth, his intentions remain sincere. In the end, he endures the pain of being with Holly, even if it means a life of torture. Holly thanks Seth for his
Wait, he's
sacrifice
happy?
by allowing her to gear all her murderous impulses on him instead of killing other people. Subscribe to watch more videos like this.
He was
Turn
happy
on
being in the cage?
notifications, and leave a like.
Okay, alright. Alright, I mean, I guess it's a functional relationship, I guess. Alright. A realistic adult amusement park lets you live out your every
Story
desire.
recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi film
Look at
called
an older
Westworld.
movie. Wow,
Spoilers
thanks.
ahead.
Dots.
Watch out and take care. A high-tech amusement park called Delos has attracted the attention of many thrill seekers due to its promise to send their guests on an adventure of a lifetime for an extravagant price of $1,000 a day. Ed, a public relations officer working for Delos, interviews several people who just came from the resort. One guest excitedly tells Ed that he shot 6 people during his visit to Westworld, but Ed clarifies that the people shot were robots. Ed explains that these androids were programmed to look, act and talk like human beings. Moreover, the robots also bleed just as humans do to enhance the experience. John, a returning guest at the amusement park, has decided to take his friend, Peter, to Westworld to help him unwind. On their way to the resort, Peter asks John about what he should expect. John patiently answers his questions and informs him that they'll use real firearms. Soon, an announcer asks the guests to put on their earphones to listen to the orientation. John ignores the announcement, noting that he's already heard the orientation before. The orientation video points out that guests are given a choice to visit 3 distinct worlds that cater to their specific fantasies. In Westworld, guests can reenact the gunfights in the Wild West with the resort's android inhabitants. The guests are also given the opportunity to rub shoulders with the kings and queens of 13th century Europe during the medieval era. As the monitor displays images of the area, the man sitting behind Peter smiles in anticipation of living out his medieval fantasies. In another option, guests can indulge in diverse worldly pleasures available only in the ancient Roman city of Pompeii at the height of its golden age.
That's pretty cool.
After hearing about the attractions available in the Roman world, the man behind Peter starts pondering whether or not it's a good idea to send his wife there. After getting off the hovercraft, Peter wonders if the attendants guiding them to the cars are androids. John notes that the only way to distinguish androids from humans is to look at their hands because the robots have imperfect extremities. After wearing the appropriate costumes, they ride a stagecoach to the Westworld Hotel. Upon arrival, Peter notices the lack of amenities in the room assigned to them, but John points out that it's supposed to be that way to give them an authentic experience. Peter mentions that his wife would have loved visiting the shops in Westworld, but John interrupts him, saying he should forget about her because she only took him for a ride. Soon, John and Peter leave their room to visit the bar. Peter orders a vodka martini, but John orders whiskey for both of them instead. He urges Peter to have fun, assuring him that there's no way to get hurt at the resort. When their drinks arrive, Peter chokes on the liquor. Not long after, a gunslinger arrives and starts taunting Peter, saying he needs to come home to his mother because he can't handle his drink. John sees this situation as an opportunity to start a duel, so he urges Peter to confront the gunslinger. Peter hesitates, but with some encouragement, he faces the gunslinger. As Peter reaches for his gun, the other patrons scramble to find a hiding place. When the gunslinger urges him to make a move, Peter draws his weapon and shoots before the gunslinger could even point his firearm at him. As the gunslinger staggers around, Peter shoots him 2 more times. After the other patrons drag the gunslinger's body away, Peter asks John if he's sure that the gunslinger was an android. John assures him that there's no way he would be able to kill a human at the resort. In their hotel room, John urges Peter to try shooting him with his weapon. Peter pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire. John points out that the weapon has a sensor that prevents it from firing at anything with a high temperature.
Yeah, that can't go bad.
After dinner, John and Peter visit the saloon looking for sensual entertainment. So Miss Carey introduces them to Cindy and Arlette. Peter asks John if the girls are androids, but John doesn't give him a straightforward answer. On their way to their rooms, they suddenly hear gunshots outside. Carey tells them that men are robbing the bank across the street. Peter suggests joining the robbers, thinking that it might be fun, but John argues being with the girls at the saloon would be much better. Upon entering the room, Peter and Arlette slowly undress and get ready to be intimate with each other. Peter struggles to disclose that he's never slept with a stranger before, but Arlette ignores him and continues undressing. As the gunfight continues outside the saloon, Arlette approaches Peter in bed and starts making love to him. When they finish, Arlette's eyes emit a silvery glow. After the female android leaves the room, Peter tells John that he's having fun at the resort. While the guests are asleep, the resort's employees arrive to pick up the android bodies from the streets. The men load the androids into a conveyor belt that leads to the lab, where technicians perform minor repairs. The chief supervisor calmly guides the technicians, but he's suddenly bothered when he hears about a central malfunction on one of the androids. During a meeting, he reports that breakdowns have been occurring throughout the amusement park for 6 weeks, and it has since doubled in the past week. In addition, central malfunctions in androids continue to rise despite the corrections they've already made. He points out that the pattern of the breakdowns is similar to an infectious disease, spreading from one area to the next. Other scientists are skeptical that androids are contracting electronic diseases. The chief inspector points out that the robots are highly complicated machines, and they still don't know exactly how they work. Despite the problems they've discovered, the technicians prepare to reactivate the androids in the morning before the guests wake up. While Peter takes a bath, the gunslinger knocks on the door and threatens John. As Peter returns to the room, he hears John pleading with the gunslinger, so he prepares to confront the android. Suddenly the housekeeper yells at him for standing in the hall half-naked. The housekeeper screams upon seeing his gun, so Peter decides to barge in and shoot the gunslinger to take him by surprise. After being hit 4 times, the android falls through the window and dies. The sheriff arrests Peter and locks him
Gunslinger
up,
my ass.
saying he'll have to stand trial for killing the gunslinger. John explains that the shooting was self-defense, but the sheriff ignores him. The sheriff warns John not to bother trying to save Peter because the judge likes to hang
30
him.
months.
CSN.
Outside, John asks a woman to deliver some food to Peter.
Gunslinger. Ooh, I died.
After the sheriff inspects the food, the woman shows Peter that there's an explosive hidden underneath the sheet covering his food. John prepares 2 horses and positions them outside the sheriff's office. Not long after, an explosion occurs, and Peter emerges from his cell. The sheriff goes out to stop them from escaping, but John shoots him twice, making sure that he's dead. John and Peter immediately flee from the town and make their way to the desert to hide. Later, John remarks that they can go back to town and do anything they want because there's no one to stop them anymore. In the medieval world, a guest playing as a knight enters the queen's room for a tryst, but she tells him that the Black Knight is looking forward to a sword fight with him. The queen tells him that the knight has the strength of 10 men, but his sight is weak in the left eye. She assures him that he will win the battle if he stays to the knight's left. The technicians take note so they could reprogram the Black Knight with lateral weakness in the left eye for the next day. As Peter and John rest in the desert, a rattlesnake slithers in their direction. John tries shooting the snake, but he misses.
Oh shit.
The snake lunges at him and bites him in the arm, so he shakes it vigorously until it releases its bite. When the snake hits the ground, they both shoot it until it stops moving. John notes that the snake is not real, and it wasn't supposed to attack him. The chief supervisor hears about the snake attack in the control room and tells the technicians to take the android snake to the lab. While inspecting the android snake, the technicians discover that its logic circuits failed to respond, but its mechanisms appear to be intact. Due to the malfunction, the resort's administrators decide to stop accepting new guests at the resort, but they still refuse to shut the park down. Later that night, the technicians in the control room start a bar fight in Westworld while Peter and John are playing cards. When one of the patrons drops at their table, John decides to join in. Before Peter could get up, a man grabs him and flings him across the room. They gleefully drink and participate in the riot until they pass out. Meanwhile, the lab technicians install an upgrade on the gunslinger to improve his vision and hearing.
Fight, but I bet people fucking
in the medieval world, the guest posing as a knight tries to seduce a female servant, but she rejects his advances and slaps him. The chief inspector tells the technicians to send the servant to the lab for central repair, noting that she's not supposed to refuse a guest. However, the technicians couldn't find anything wrong with the android. Later on, the Black Knight confronts the guest at the medieval world as he was looking for something to eat. The guest tries to plead with the Black Knight, but the knight is bent on engaging him in a sword fight. The knight then starts striking him, but the guest manages to block his attacks. Due to the force of the knight's blows, the guest loses his shield, leaving him with only a sword as a means to defend himself. When the knight cuts the guest's arm, the chief supervisor tells the technicians to shut down the androids immediately. However, the knight continues his assault and stabs the guest in the stomach with his sword. After waking up at the bar, John and Peter head back to their room, but before they could enter the hotel, the gunslinger confronts them. In the control room, the chief supervisor orders the technicians to shut all the power down. Meanwhile, John tells Peter that he will handle the gunslinger this time. He urges the gunslinger to make the first move, so the android draws his gun and shoots John in the chest. John stumbles, confused by the sudden gunshot wound. He gets up and tells Peter that he's been shot for real. The gunslinger fires another shot, killing John. The gunslinger asks Peter to draw his gun as Peter tries to make sense of the situation. Back in the control room, the technicians tell the supervisor that they've lost control of the androids. Terrified by the idea that he could die at the hands of the android, Peter decides to run from the gunslinger instead of engaging.
Just run away.
The gunslinger pursues Peter as he gallops away on a horse. The chief supervisor notes that the androids are running on stored charge. Some robots will only last about an hour, but some can still function for as long as 12 hours. Meanwhile, the androids at the Roman world have begun their rampage, killing most of the guests in the area.
Roman world, I think, is the coolest world.
The chief supervisor tells the technicians to turn the main grid back on, but they fail to get their power back. They soon realize that they are locked inside the control room because the doors are powered by electricity. The chief supervisor tells the technicians to get the doors open before they run out of oxygen. Peter runs to the desert to get away from the gunslinger. As he rides his horse along the hill, the gunslinger sees him and shoots his hat. Peter leaves the horse and decides to lie in wait for the gunslinger. However, the gunslinger spots him and fires his gun at him repeatedly.
He was just smurfing.
Fortunately, Peter doesn't get hit, so he runs back to his horse and flees. Meanwhile, the oxygen level starts to drop inside the control room with no way of opening the doors. In the desert, Peter comes across a technician, who appears to be on his way out of the resort, but his car had broken down. The technician hides from him, fearing that Peter is an android, but after realizing that Peter is a guest, the technician informs him that the androids have started to malfunction. Peter tells him that the gunslinger is after him and asks for advice on dealing with the robot. The technician tells him that his only chance is to use acid to impair the robot's vision and create noise to disrupt its hearing. However, the technician warns Peter that his chances of defeating the robot are low because the android will always be one step ahead of him. Soon after Peter leaves, the gunslinger arrives and kills the technician. Peter keeps going until he leaves Westworld and
he actually baited him into
the
technician. I like
when he
that.
comes
It just
across
rides away.
Peter goes down and finds himself in the resort's underground complex. Peter soon finds the locked control room, but he discovers that the technicians have all died due to a lack of oxygen. In one of the monitors inside, he sees the gunslinger arriving in the Roman world. Although Peter is nowhere to be seen, the android still manages to track him down using his infrared vision. Peter soon comes across the lab where other androids are kept for repairs. He notices a beaker filled with hydrochloric acid and recalls the technician advising him to use it against the android.
This
The
feels like a
gunslinger
quest
soon
in
reaches
WoW
the
or
lab,
something.
but he doesn't
Just
see
use
Peter
acid.
around. Peter lies down on a table, pretending to be a robot,
Smart.
and waits for the android to pass him by. When the gunslinger reaches his table, Peter gets up and throws acid in the android's face. He watches the gunslinger react to the acid burn for a while before finally deciding to make a run for it. Despite the damage to his eyes, the gunslinger continues to chase after Peter.
Jesus,
He shoots
alright.
Peter when he senses him close by, but his gun runs out of batteries, so he throws it away. Peter continues fleeing and soon ends up in the medieval world. When the gunslinger catches up to him, Peter ends up beneath a flaming torch and learns that the android cannot detect him due to the heat. As he turns to run, he accidentally steps on a piece of metal armor, alerting the gunslinger to his presence. In a panic, Peter immediately grabs a torch and sets the android on fire.
Okay.
He watches the robot as it flails around the room in flames.
That was easy.
While
Can't
trying
beat
to
him,
find
he's
his
always
way
one
out of the
step ahead of
castle,
you.
he hears a woman yelling for
Literally
help in the
beaten
dungeon,
by a
so
torch. Set on fire.
he releases her from her shackles. Peter tries to give her some water, but she refuses. When Peter pours out some water into her mouth, sparks suddenly bursts out of her head. Peter backs away in shock, realizing that he encountered another android. As Peter prepares to leave, he runs into the scorched gunslinger,
Oh,
still
shit.
trying desperately to attack him. The android, however, has totally lost its ability to see, so falls down the stairs while trying to grab Peter. The gunslinger tries to get up one more time, but the robot
Classic
finally breaks
gunslinger.
down due to the severe damage to its
They're
circuits.
like the worst Terminator
Exhausted
that's
from
ever
his
existed.
ordeal, Peter sits down on the steps, recalling the resort's advertisement offering him a vacation that he won't forget. The tragedy that happened in Delos highlights the hidden dangers of bestowing sentience to inanimate objects. Programming androids to act exactly like humans for the purpose of entertainment seems like an innocuous endeavor, but problems become apparent as system malfunctions start to occur. Even though the administrators of the park had put some precautionary measures in place, they didn't anticipate the androids misbehaving on their own. The initial investigations conducted by the technicians didn't find any problem with the circuits, which could mean that the androids somehow learned to reject their programming. Due to the errors, the androids seemed to act even more like humans. The female servant in the medieval world slapped the guest trying to seduce her, as any other woman would. The Black Knight ferociously killed the very same guest just to impress his queen. In Westworld, the gunslinger relentlessly pursued Peter in a seeming attempt to seek revenge after
Wait,
being
why are they
killed twice
recapping
before.
the recap?
Some
What's
would
going
say
on?
that such a catastrophe
Okay.
is bound to happen with humanity's continuous pursuit to produce more realistic entertainment.
Dude, I bet no matter what these Terminator
Subscribe to
movies and
what?
all that, no, it's not gonna stop anybody. We're still gonna make some fucking super robots one day, I bet. And we're all gonna die to them, most likely. Alright, we'll watch one more too. I'm done eating now. It is crazy, yeah.
I've gone from legend to divine for spamming tar.
Well,
New
it's scumbag.
patch Monka Jigger. Question. Why do TA players wait 2 seconds before using first meld on Roche?
So you can
All
stack
pros
melds.
does that.
Stack
Why?
melds. Stack more melds, dies faster. Minus armor works like that. Alright, let's see. We can watch one more, chat. 6-year-old girl falls along with a time traveler? Absolutely not. Military trains elite kid gamers to wipe out an alien race. Maybe this one. Could this be good?
Sleep.
I don't like the ones that are on a spaceship because nothing like... There's no... Ooh, it has some cool picture. We watch this one, chat? Or...
Story recapped here.
Machine meant for war develops human feelings. Kinda just watch that. Medieval warrior collects severed head on spikes.
That
This be
day,
fun?
father wakes up
Maybe.
back.
Which one, chat? Which one? Time travel? Ender game? I don't know which one Ender game in. Which one is Ender's game? Which one, it was good, don't spoil it? Scary, please? I think we need a horror. It's been a long time since we got a horror. It's time for a horror, dude. Horror, I think it was called Horror Recapped or something. It's been a while since we saw a horror one, so I think it's time. Is it Mystery Recapped? Is that the Logan Paul movie? No, shot. They refuse to watch that one. I refuse. Okay, let's watch a horror one instead. Danger, children with strange disorder executed in the US. Serious girl missing strange. Wait, is this the horror ones? I know this was the horror ones. We'll definitely watch a horror one. That one looks scary. Nanny assigned to babysit a doll. Nah, that's too fucked up. That's too fucked up. Fuck dolls. Dolls are off limits, okay? Dolls are off limit. Okay. Boys,
Hi, Mystery Recapped here.
this looks okay.
Today, I'm going to explain the American drama thriller film called Before I Wake. Spoilers ahead.
Ah, it's
Watch
fucked
out
up.
and take care.
Ugh.
It is midnight when a grown man slowly enters a little kid's room. He points a gun at the sleeping child. He seems to be nervous and apologizes to him, calling him Cody. A sudden commotion makes him pull the trigger. The gunfire awakens Cody. The man breaks down in tears and apologizes to him. Cut to a few months later, a couple named Jesse and Mark Hobson have been approved as foster parents. They sit across Natalie, a worker at the foster care. She tells them about an 8-year-old boy named Cody. Cody's father was never around, and his mother died when he was only 3. Cody has not had many good experiences in the foster care system. His former foster parents had abandoned him, leaving him to live alone for about a month before he was rescued. He has sleep issues, but he is resilient and smart.
It always feels like
Natalie,
orphans are getting a really bad rep. Every orphan I've ever seen in any movie is always haunted by the most evil demon possible and wants to kill you. Like, who wants to adopt a child? I will never adopt a child after this, dude. You gotta fucking get
thinks he would be perfect for the Hobsons to foster. Having found the perfect kid for them, the Hobsons return home happily that day. Their young son, Sean, had died by accidentally drowning in a bathtub. This had a huge impact on the couple, but now they are ready to welcome a new member to their family. At home, they redecorate the house to make it fit for Cody. Mark takes down every picture of Sean from the walls and only leaves their family picture. He also sets an extra handle on the wall beside the bathtub. Later that day, Jessie tells her self-help group about their decision to foster Cody.
Sean.
Everyone there is happy for her. Jessie has had trouble sleeping since Sean's death. The next day, the couple impatiently waits for Cody to arrive. Natalie's car parks in their driveway and they rush to see Cody. He wishes the couple a good morning. He brings with him a box that Mark helps him carry inside. As Cody is looking around the house, the family picture with Sean seems to have caught his eyes. He stares at it, as Mark tells him about his collection of games. The adults then take him to his new room which he loves. Especially the curtains with butterflies on them. Natalie tells them that Cody likes to collect butterflies as a hobby. Later that night, the couple tuck Cody to bed. But after they leave, Cody sits up and opens the box that he brought with him. Inside is a can of soda and a book about butterflies. He sips on the soda and starts reading the book under the blanket using a torchlight. He doesn't sleep at all. The following day is his first day at school. That day at school, Cody meets Annie and befriends her. Jessie is folding Cody's laundry that day when she finds his secret box. Inside is his book about butterflies, several cans of soda, and a bottle of stimulants. When she tucks him to bed at night, she asks him about the box. According to him, the stimulants and cans of soda are to help him not fall asleep. He adds that when he falls asleep, the canker man comes. Thinking that the child just has nightmares, Jessie dismisses it. She tells him that the man will go away with little reasoning. However, Cody believes that the canker man ate his mother and is always with him. Jessie puts him to bed and goes to Mark in their living room. She feels sorry for going through Cody's box. She feels like she has invaded his privacy, but Mark assures her it is for his own good. Sometime later, they are watching a movie together. Then all of a sudden, several butterflies fly into the room. They look holographic. The couple is beyond surprised to see this many at once. Mark captures one in a jar for Cody, while Jessie closes the windows. As the windows close, all of the butterflies disappear. The couple is left stunned. Jessie has a hard time falling asleep that night. She goes down to the kitchen where she hears an odd noise. She looks around to see if there is an intruder. Suddenly, Sean appears in the dark living room. Jessie is in shock. A glass falls from her hand and breaks. When she looks up again, Sean is gone. She goes to Cody's room to check on him. He sleeps peacefully. Cut to the next day, Jessie is back with the self-help group. She tells them about seeing Sean. According to her, Sean seems angry to be replaced by Cody. Later that day, Mark notices Cody staring at their family picture with Sean in it. He talks to the couple about Sean. They lovingly answer all Cody's questions. At night, the butterflies appear again. They look around when suddenly, Sean appears in the room. He is wearing the same clothes as their family picture. The couple is beyond surprised. They walk up to him to touch him. When they do, they realize that he is actually real. But Sean suddenly disappears. At the same time, we see Cody wake up. He comes down and apologizes to the couple. The breakfast the following day is awkward. Jessie and Mark do not know what to say. They are still in shock. But they believe that Sean's appearance has something to do with Cody. Cody apologizes to them for something. Later, when Cody is back from school, the family watches videos of Sean. It is a Christmas video and all three of them look very happy in it. That night after Cody falls asleep, Mark and Jesse stay in the living room. Suddenly, the room lights up with Christmas lights, and a Christmas tree appears too.
Cool, at least.
Just then, Sean appears wearing the clothes he did in the video. The video has come to life. Mark and Jesse are left speechless. They finally realize that Cody is blessed with supernatural power. All of his dreams come to life while he sleeps. However, when he wakes up, the dream vanishes. Cut to the next day, Cody draws a figure of a man and proceeds to scribble over it. He tells Annie that it is the Canker Man. Sometimes when Cody scribbles over him, it keeps the man away. Jesse puts the pictures of Sean back for Cody to see. She wants to meet her dead son again. However, Mark is not fond of the idea. He accuses Jesse of using Cody to fulfill her desires. But Jesse insists that Cody is the only one who can help them heal. Irritated, Mark puts the photo frames away. The next day, Cody brings a butterfly trapped in a jar to school. But his bully, Tate, breaks it.
Hey,
Cody has been staying up all night in fear of the Canker Man, so he almost falls asleep in the class. During the lunch break, he gets permission to rest in the class for a while. He is alone there when he falls asleep. Cody dreams of the Canker Man. Cody's blessing is also a curse. Along with his dreams, his nightmares are real too. As Cody sleeps, his bully enters the classroom and faces the Canker Man. Annie sees the Canker Man indulge Tate and yells in fear. Cody wakes up, but Tate has disappeared. The police arrive at the school to investigate the disappearance. Cody cannot risk sleeping now, so he takes coffee to avoid sleeping. That night, Cody reads the book about butterflies like he usually does. Suddenly, he hears a noise. He checks under the bed when suddenly, Tate's ghost appears in front of him and drags him under the bed.
They add jump scares to
Cody tries to fight and screams, "I am awake." Meanwhile, Sean appears before Jesse. He too is saying, "I am awake." Cody yells loudly, which makes the dreams go away.
Up, dude.
Jesse rushes to him, asks him what is wrong, and tries to calm him down. The following day, Jesse talks to a doctor about Cody's insomnia. Meanwhile, Cody and Mark go shopping and buy stuff for Cody's room. When they get back home, 2 police officers are in front of their house. They want to interview Cody about Tate's disappearance. Later that day, Cody asks the couple about Sean's death, but the couple dismisses the questions. Jesse mixes the prescribed sleeping pills with Cody's milk, unbeknownst to her husband. And he drinks it. Marks informs Cody that Sean had died from drowning as he tucks him to bed. The drug makes Cody sleep peacefully that night. Jesse and Mark are in the living room again. Sometime later, Sean appears in front of them, but he looks evil and vomits water. Mark rushes up to wake Cody, but he cannot wake up because of the drug. Soon, the dream turns into a nightmare. A tall creature appears in front of Jesse in the living room. She runs to Cody's room and locks the door. Mark is worried about Cody not waking up. Just then, Jesse confesses to have drugged him. She watches in horror as the creature devours Mark.
Why would he drug him?
Suddenly, she falls unconscious. She wakes up in the morning to Cody calling 911. Mark is nowhere to be found.
What was
it
that
is
move?
As if he has disappeared into thin air. The police arrive at the scene and accuse Jesse of drugging the kid.
Oh yeah.
They believe that Jesse and Mark are abusing Cody, so they take him away, as Jesse cries for them to stop. Jesse then goes to Natalie, but she too accuses her of child abuse and tells her to go away. However, Jesse notices Cody's file on her desk and manages to steal it. Through the file, she finds out about a man named Whelan Young. He is the father of the second family Cody was fostered by.
Every family he's going to is gone
Young
missing.
tells her that he and his wife fostered Cody for 15 months before his dream swallowed his wife too. He was so angry at Cody that he almost killed him. This is the scene we saw at the beginning of the film. He then asks her to kill Cody so that no others can be victims of his nightmares, but Jesse refuses.
No.
From the file, she also finds Cody's mother's information and her hospital reports. She decides to go to the hospital and investigate further. The hospital provides her with her mother's belongings. It consists of a pillow shaped like a butterfly in her journal. Reading the journal and the reports, Jesse finds the secret about the Canker Man's existence. She then goes to the orphanage Cody is staying at with the pillow. Cody hasn't slept for several nights, so his caretakers are worried about him. Unknown about the Canker Man, they give him a tranquilizer to help him sleep. Cody dreams of the man that night as well. When Jesse walks into the building, she sees several nightmares in every room. First, she is startled by a flutter of black moths, then she sees Sean drowning in the bathtub. Next, she sees a horrifying looking woman twist Cody's head. Lastly, she sees Mark appears in front of her. Scared, she closes the door to that room.
Okay, well.
She finally reaches Cody's room. The canker man runs towards her to attack her, but instead of running away, she shows him the butterfly pillow. The canker man stops when he sees it.
Okay.
Jessie slowly hugs the man. As she does that, the man turns into Cody, who then disappears. Jessie picks a sleeping Cody up and takes him outside. Natalie has been indulged by the canker man and comes back to life. She sees Jessie take him away, but lets her. They see several beautiful butterflies flying in the hallway. His nightmare has changed into a magical dream. Cut to the next day, Jessie tells Cody that his mother's name was Andrea and that she died of pancreatic cancer. Andrea had found out about Cody's gift when he was little. She has written it in her journal. But when Cody was just 3, Andrea was diagnosed with cancer. Cody had seen his mother on the verge of death, battling cancer. She was thin and bald at that time. Since he was too young to recognize her as his mother, his little mind made up that it was the canker man. He was told that cancer had taken his mother away. With time, he made up the canker man, so he believed that he took her away. This began his nightmares. Now that Cody knows that the canker man is not real, Jessie believes that his nightmare will not come back. However, Mark and other people that the canker man had taken still haven't come back. Jessie believes that as Cody learns to control his power, there might be a possibility of them coming back. Cody thanks Jessie for bringing him home and calls her mom. He begins to learn how to control his magical gift.
Dude, he's insane.
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications.
Okay, I guess. It was pretty okay. I was surprised when they added the fucking real screams, man. That was scary, bro. That was actually scary. Alright. One more, chat, or are we done? Maybe do one more. Maybe. Canker. Oh, wait, I must like a canker mark. Story recap. Let's see what we got here. Maybe one more. Recap it there. Here we go. Uno más. Last one. Okay. Last one. 100% white, thank you. Good.
I'm back one more.
Thanks for 25 months. I can do one last one, and then we sleep. Let me see what I can pick here. Alien Light. Let's sort by most popular, and let's see what whatever is the most popular, right? Popular. This is Benjamin Button. The high school students start to explode as they struggle to survive.
28 years of
watch this.
Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy, horror, and romance film called
Comedy
Spontaneous.
Horror. Okay, that's
Spoilers
pretty
ahead. Watch out and take care. Mara Carlisle, a senior, attends her pre-calculus class on a typical school day in Covington High School. She drops her pencil, and as she picks it up, something explodes. Blood is spattered all around the room.
I have a feeling it's gonna be
the rest of the class end up in a state of shock after realizing that their classmate, Caitlin, has exploded. Her seat is drenched in blood and her remains. Mara stares at what used to be Caitlin's seat, her mind grasping at what just happened while the rest of her classmates rush outside. Even though Caitlin was sweet and airy, she used to be the Dalton twins' #1 customer. The twins, Joe,
Mama,
and
Joe
Jenna,
Mama,
are also infamous for being the top dealers in school. If a student's looking for a high, they go to the twins. Mara meets up with her best friend, Tess McNulty, outside the school. Tess is shocked by the situation as Mara tells her that Caitlin exploded like a balloon. Tess notices Mara's shoes drenched in their schoolmates' blood. Investigators arrive at the scene and gather Caitlin's remaining stuff. They conclude that she was not a bomber because no weapons were found. While at the location, the investigators find nothing but a bloodbath. They are surprised to see the whole classroom covered with Caitlin's blood as they retrieve more evidence. After the unprecedented event, Mara and her classmates are brought to the police station. They are interrogated about the incident and asked if they noticed anything suspicious beforehand. The students' clothes are confiscated while they shower and change into sweatsuits. They gather in a small room in silence until Mara snickers. The rest of the students shoot her judging looks while the others talk about what happened. Several conspiracies come up, and Mara tells them that it might happen again. This chilling thought sparks fear and controversy. The police finally release the kids so they could reunite with their family. Mara's parents pick her up from the station and embrace her, feeling glad that she's safe. The ride home is quiet. She is not prepared to talk about it at all. Her parents express their concern, thinking that it might be a shooter.
It's kind of hard to cope with.
She dismisses the idea and excuses herself to her room.
Shooter.
Once settled, she receives a text message from an unknown number. The text says, "Hey, just wanted to say that I've had a crush on you for 2 years." Mara is uninterested, but she replies anyway.
Please
she exchanges texts with her secret admirer, which helps take her mind off the dreadful event. The following day, the school holds a memorial for Caitlin before her funeral. At the incident, neighbors and friends gather to bid goodbye for the last time. Caitlin's father sadly removes a sticker from their family car. The sight of it puts Mara in a depressive state, so she turns to the Dalton twins in chase of a high. Tess is entirely against this idea and tries her best to stop Mara, but to no avail. The twins recommend a substance, which Mara purchases. Mara pours her purchase in a cup and drinks it at the local diner while Tess accompanies her just in case something happens. They talk about their lives and how they've been best friends since elementary school and have been inseparable since then. Their ultimate life plan is to purchase a beach house and grow old together. As they give a toast to Caitlin, Mara drinks from the cup and starts to get phased. Moments later, Dylan Hovmeyer, their quiet classmate who used to be a transferee, approaches their table. Mara and Tess take time to decide whether or not he could sit with them. Dylan eventually takes a seat, and the three of them talk about the funeral and try to make light of the situation. Mara directly asks Dylan why he came over. She instantly realizes that he is the unknown number she has been exchanging messages with. He confesses that he has a crush on her. Mara gets excited and is caught off guard. She asks him why he confessed all of a sudden. Dylan tells her that the incident reminded him that life's too short, and he wants to live while he can before it happens all over again.
Damn, Dylan with the moves.
At this point, Mara feels like throwing up because of what she drank.
Never mind.
She lets Dylan accompany her to the bathroom. After getting the substance out of her system, Mara looks hazily at Dylan. She initially laughs it off, but he stays with her throughout it. Dylan asks her to homecoming, and Mara thinks of why she should say no but is too intoxicated to decide. During Halloween, students dress up in costumes of characters of their choice. Mara and Dylan meet up with each other. That day, she makes him tell her the story of how he fell in love with her. From the day he saw her, Dylan tells her all the time she caught him with amazement. In 2 years, he only dared to approach her recently. He recalls the day of the Caitlin incident. Mara was bringing 2 backpacks, one of which belonged to Caitlin. Dylan came to ask how she is, and also recalled what she said at the station. During a football game, the two sit together. Mara then tells him that she likes him. In a matter of seconds, one of the players explodes.
Someone's gonna explode. Yeah.
Everyone at the game rushes to the exit after seeing a bloody field as the two embraces. Harry Love, who's a member of the varsity team, is the new victim. His name dominates the news as the whole town trends with the phrase Covington curse. Another memorial is held for Harry, led by his teammates. At home, Mara receives news from her parents that school is cancelled indefinitely. Uncertainty fills the whole town as the reason behind the incidents is still to be known. Yeah. Mara waits for Dylan outside her home. He arrives in a rundown ice cream truck that he bought with his savings. They drive to a party hosted by one of their classmates as Mara and Dylan grow closer to each other. At the party, they head outside and find themselves alone together. Dylan jokes around to ease the atmosphere, and they throw their cups in the air in glee. After an emotional conversation and moments of sexual tension built up, Mara and Dylan share their first kiss.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people start running out of the house screaming. A horrible chill set in their bodies as they enter the house and sees the blood in the living room. Another student has exploded. The following morning, Mara and Tess are summoned by Agent Carla Rossetti, who interviews them about the explosions. Her pragmatic beliefs help her theorize the possibility that one person may be behind all of these explosions. Mara and Tess are clueless about what to tell her, as they have no idea what is happening. After the meeting, Mara heads to the Dalton twins' home to inform them that Agent Rossetti thinks that illegal substances caused the explosions. The twins dismiss her crazy remark with a laugh. Mara then purchases all of their products as instructed by Agent Rossetti. This is to test her theory of illegal substances being the culprit. Jenna and Joe are delighted to have their stock sold out with one purchase. They grab the keys to their car and head to their stash. The twins hide it in a secret place to keep it safe. While driving, Joe explodes. Jenna looks at the now empty driver's seat in complete disbelief.
Yeah.
She and Mara look at each other with reflected emotions. Jenna tries to control the steering wheel, but the blood-drenched car makes it almost impossible. She explodes a mere seconds later, and Mara blacks out as the car crashed by the side of the road. Dylan arrives at the scene of the accident, and he rushes to find any signs of Mara, but he gets hopeless after seeing an empty car filled with blood. He gets up and sees a bloody handprint on a rock. This gives him hope, so he runs to the nearby river to check on her. She is cleaning herself when Dylan arrives at her rescue. Mara is shattered after witnessing the literally bloody accident. Dylan has extra clothes for her. In a matter of seconds, men in hazmat suits arrive in the woods. They take both of them away to be quarantined in a medical facility. As Mara gains consciousness, Dr. Rolanda assures her that she will help her. She tries to lift herself up, but her body is covered with tubes as she is examined. Mara sees Dylan right beside her in the same situation. They both reach for each other's hands in between the plastic covers. That night, Dylan confirms to Mara that the doctors are indeed doing tests on them. He also tells her that the whole class is in the same facility. They move their beds closer to each other, and Dylan romantically asks Mara if she could be his girlfriend, to which she says yes. The following day, the series of tests begin. The government is behind it to create a cure that would keep their blood inside their bodies. They have one-by-one sessions with Dr. Rolanda, who interviews and monitors the class. Although they are locked up, they are still provided comfort. They are even given a common room and time for recreational activities.
Video games.
They talk about trying to break out, but Harper, one of their classmates, says that he is having a great time. He adds that in the tent, they are assured that they are healthy. A government official shows them a presentation about the search for the cure. Mara questions their methods and is unconvinced about their way of trying to help them. The man gets taken aback by their behavior. Harper backs Mara's claims and says that politicians are useless. As they cheer, Harper explodes. Because of this, the kids remain at the facility while their families wait outside. In the middle of the night, another of their classmates explodes while sleeping, and the doctor informs her parents. Hope is slowly fading at this rate. However, the search for a cure must continue.
Yeah, this has to be the
Endless
blonde chick,
medications and interviews are undergone by the class. As days go by, more of them still explode as the medications prove to be ineffective. Their days slowly look like a routine. By the time they think that the perfect medication is formulated, the kids are released home. Their families welcome them outside the tent. On the way home, Mara is ecstatic, to say the least. She notices that although Christmas is around the corner, the streets do not look very lively. She asks her parents why there are no decorations. They reply that the citizens do not feel festive because of the human explosions. The three of them arrive home, and they surprise Mara with a Christmas tree. She gets delighted and excited as they add more ornaments. In their small living room, she shares a special moment with her parents while they smoke. They all continue to take the medication prescribed
in front of your kid.
On Christmas Day, Dylan comes over to her place, and they share an intimate moment together. Whenever they are together, they both feel safe, as if the incidents did not happen. School is resumed, and Mara is dreadful about the idea. Tess motivates her to attend as things are going back to normal. The kids are back to class, and their teacher assures them of their safety. The days since the last explosion is also recorded on their whiteboard. Cole, one of their classmates, wears protective gear. His whole body is covered with shields. The rest of them look at him with confusion. Agent Rossetti continues to monitor the kids and their health. She has temporarily set up an office in their school to check on them closely. According to her, it is always better to hope for the best and expect for the worst. On Dylan's birthday, Mara surprises him. She designs a barn with colorful lights and plays music in hopes of bringing back Dylan's childhood memories. Both of them enjoy the music as they dance together. Dr. Rolanda visits them at school the following day to inform the class that the medication, also known as the snooze button, will be available over the counter. According to her, the snooze button is not the cure but just a treatment. She asks for a volunteer to step forward as she demonstrates how the medication works. Steve volunteers and goes in front of the room. Dr. Rolanda instructs him to do
hug her, I think.
Out of nowhere, Steve explodes. In a matter of seconds, more kids explode inside the room. They stop for a moment and rush outside to run.
Damn.
As the stampede starts, more of them start popping, leaving the whole premises bloody. Mara and Dylan run together as they make their way out.
What are they running
from? It is complete
from?
chaos.
Exactly.
Cole grabs Mara once Dylan gets farther away from her. Unfortunately, the only thing that the protective gear has done to Cole was to keep his blood from splattering. Mara finds her way out. She is afraid to be alone, but luckily Dylan comes to her again. They feel ecstatic that they could escape, but their celebration is cut short when Dylan suddenly explodes. This leaves Mara in a pit of sadness and blood as she makes her way home. She could not even speak or cry. The sight of Dylan being gone numbed her.
This plot, dude.
Days go by, and Mara just locks herself at home.
How do you counter
She could not bring
explode?
herself to go outside and attend Dylan's funeral. Their spontaneous love story has ended abruptly in the worst way possible. She spends her time watching Dylan's old videos and mixing cocktails. She falls into a pit of alcoholism to cope with her sadness. Mara's father just looks at her hopelessly, but he knows that she needs this break. After a night of drinking, she goes to Tess's house to invite her to go drinking. She discourages her from going to school, but Tess refuses. The van to school arrives, and Mara is left alone drunk. She starts crashing protests and continues to get herself drunk for the day. Agent Rossetti comes to help her, but she throws a liquor bottle at the agent's car.
Jesus.
Mara is hopeless about her life. She is sure that at any moment, she might explode as well. She looks up updates on the internet about the Covington curse and a tragic series of explosions among her peers. She comes to the school one night to look at the shrines and think deeply about what she should do about her life. It is now prom night. Mara sits on a swing in an empty playground when Tess sits beside her. They reconnect with each other and start being friends again. Tess informs her that she is leaving to start a new life as time
everybody died? Okay.
permits. Mara continues to finish the bottle of liquor in the playground before attending prom. Mixed emotions can be seen among the students as they are graduating incomplete. As it is also a graduation event, they receive their diplomas. Mara takes the stage and talks about how it is her fault that the explosions took place. She says that she is the reason why it happened. But everyone moves on, as they know she is drunk. Another student says that it is her fault, and the rest of them say the same thing. Mara walks on the streets faced. She ends up in the cemetery to visit Dylan's grave. She misses him so much, but she cannot do anything but feel his presence. She lays down on the ground out of misery. Dylan's mother arrives as well, and they both lay down. The love that they share for the same person still remains despite him being gone. They comfort each other in their own ways as they recall memories of him.
All I'm doing is waiting for someone to explode. That's all this movie is teaching me.
Back home, Mara's mom and dad are waiting for her in the living room. She comes to them and apologizes for her behavior. Her apology is accepted, and they embrace their daughter. High school is over. Mara prepares for a new life ahead of her. One thing does not change though. She still continues to take the snooze button. Before leaving, she takes a last look at her room. Her parents send her off with a hug, and she drives away with Dylan's ice cream truck. The reason behind the explosions remains a mystery. They have no choice but to accept that it did happen and move on. 31 senior students died in total.
31?
Mara questions why she isn't one of the unfortunate ones. She drives away, and for a moment, she feels happy to leave the town. She imagines how her life would be in the future and starts to be hopeful again. She comes in peace with the fact that sometimes, people explode.
Okay.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this.
That was the plot?
Turn on notifications.
No explanation?
And leave
People
a like,
just
it really
explode?
helps the channel out.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Alright. That was the best plot I've ever seen, dude. What the fuck did I just watch, bro? What? Every scene was like, who's gonna explode? You? Me? I don't know. Oh man, I thought there would be some explanation, like someone was cursed or something, but apparently not. Just gotta accept that sometimes people explode. That's what you gotta take home today, boys. Good one. Alright. I'm done for tonight, boys. I had fun though. I hope you had fun today too. I'm gonna go peace out and sleep now. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Yeah, we'll watch more. We'll do more movie more often, guys. So don't worry about it. We'll do more movie. I don't feel like doing more now. I know you guys seem hype and stuff, but I have to chill. I'm fucking dead. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, y'all. No way on disc. Good night. Hopefully patch tomorrow. Otherwise, same thing. Solo queue then movie night or something like that. Maybe some Atomic. We'll see. Good night, everybody. Love you guys. Peace out, boys. Take it easy, y'all.